Okay.
So introduce yourself and explain why you are a candidate for the Oakland School Board.
Okay. So my name is Jennifer Brouhard. I am a candidate for District 2. I'm a former teacher. I taught at La Escuelita for my last teaching job. So I went through the truncation process. And I think that's really what drove me to think about running for school board. I think what's exciting to me with this campaign is the number of people running from the community. And I think the actions around school closures, the lack of community involvement, their engagement really drove people to say, hey, we want to make a difference in our schools and we want to be a part of this. And that's why I'm running. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. The next question is, what current programs or proposals do you feel are successful? What would you keep and build on, and what would you cut?
So this one I did a lot of thinking about. And I thought, I'm not, I think one of the problems with our budget is that we need to have a real deep needs assessment of what's working and what's not working. And I think we need to engage the community. We need to engage students, parents, teachers, staff, and really look at what's working in our classrooms. And I feel that if we can't justify something in the classroom, if we're not seeing a direct benefit in the classroom, then I think we need to have some hard discussions about why that's in our budget. I think we really need to honor the voices of the people who benefit from this budget, and that really is our students and our teachers. And they need to have a say in that, and they need to understand what these things are. I think that's another part of the problem, is that a lot of us don't even understand what these things are in the budget, what these programs are, where did they come from? And I think we need to really look at that in a very open way and with community engagement. I think our budget, as far as what we fund, is really a moral compass of what we value. And I think we can't answer that right now in our budget and what we fund. And I think we have to go back and examine that. I think we also need to make the budget and our spending and our programs transparent so people can understand them, know what they are, know what their history, know where they came from. And we can't do that. And I think that's really what the community is saying is, where do these programs come from? Where does the money come from? Where, we just can't answer those things. So I think community engagement and deep needs assessment at each site. That's what we need to do.
Thank you. Will you commit to rejecting donations and support from privatization-linked organizations such as Go Public Schools and the California Charter School Association?
Absolutely. I think the privatization of campaigns, the fact that those organizations poured so much money into campaigns in our last elections is, in my mind, just criminal. These are democratic elections. People from the community should be allowed to run for these offices, and people from the community can't come up with that kind of money. So absolutely, we have to put an end to anybody taking this kind of money. And I will not take it.
Okay, your next question is, what is the role of the school board? What is the role of an individual school board member? What should be the relationship between the board and the superintendent?
This is something that I think has come under examination recently with school closures. I think for too long, the school board hasn't been accountable to the community. Their actions haven't been accountable. And I think after the actions of the school board in this last few months, again, the community's demanding that. I think that the role of the school board is a conduit between the community and the school district. And to do that, the school board has to be in touch regularly with the community that they serve, whether this is through town meetings or however that looks, whatever is accessible and easy for the community to participate. And then the school board member has to carry out the wishes of the community. I think the other role of the school board member is to be able to explain the actions of the school board, policies, funding, all that in a way that people can understand it, it's transparent, and people can act with that knowledge. And I think it was really evident by the fact that the school board did not listen to parents talking about school closures. If anybody wasn't moved by that, I didn't understand that at all. I think the role of the relationship between the superintendent and the school board has to be a much more open one. I think, for example, I think that agendas for school board meetings should be out at least a week before the meeting so that, again, school board members can take agenda items and any policies and discussions to the community, have those discussions, and then bring that back to the school board in there and have it reflect in their actions. I think for too long, the superintendent has kind of rubber stamped things, and I think that has to end.
Thank you. Do you commit to voting against any school closures other than school closures? There are 3 specific ways you can respond to possible funding shortfalls in the budget.
I absolutely oppose school closures, and I commit to voting against them. Having gone through it, having seen what Parker went through, realizing that school, that community no longer has a school, I think we have to vote against school closures. I feel that for too long, school closures have been the answer to, the school board's answer, the superintendent's answer to funding shortages, and that hasn't proven to have fixed our budget. That hasn't proven to have saved us money. It's only served to destroy communities and it's devastating for students and families. I think that let's see, I lost that question here. I'm sorry. Let me look at the rest of that question there. Oops, I just forgot. Oh, three things. Again, I think, what 3 things that we could do instead of school closures, I think really goes back to that needs assessment. I think that we don't know what we don't know that it's, like I said, we don't know that it's saving money. We don't know what we need. We don't even understand the budget. So I think that when you're closing schools and devastating those communities, you can't, you just can't do it. I'm sorry. That's all. This is a period thing for me. It was very devastating to the parents and to the community to have closed our school. And I know for Parker to see those guys sitting in and fighting for their school that should have said to the district, we got to find a way to keep this school open.
Thank you. The next question is, what do you see as the effects of charter schools on OUSD students? And what do you believe should be the relationship between OUSD and the charter sector?
I think the relationship between charter schools it's been a really deeply negative effect on our schools. Charter schools have siphoned money, they've siphoned students, they've siphoned other resources, they've taken schools that have closed. And I think about those kids in that community, that where their schools have closed, and then they walk by a charter school that they may or may not even be allowed to go to. So I think it's had a devastating effect on us. I don't think there's been any proven track record of its success for charter schools. In fact, we've seen charter schools close because they weren't effective. I know there's a lot of discussion about a relationship with them, and I am really opposed to this privatization. I'm opposed to charter schools. I know that the unions have been organizing to unionize the teachers. I think that's important. But I think anytime you have it's a 2-tiered system. You have a private system and a public system, and it's the public system that's going to lose. And we've seen that. I think that, charter schools have created this narrative that they're better, they're more creative, they're more, they've got children's needs. And I think public schools have to fight back because we have that too. I mean, there's some amazing stuff going on in Oakland Unified. There are some amazing teachers, and they've done it with budget cutbacks and little resources. And I have a huge amount of respect for those teachers. I think that, I worked at a co-located school, and to see the differences in resources was astounding. And yet I thought what we did in our classrooms was much better. I'm going to just say it. And we did it with little money. So I think we have to get rid of this privatization. We have to get rid of charter schools, and we have to put that money back into public education.
Thank you. Could you describe some examples and sources of environmental racism in your district and say how they have affected OUSD students, parents, and educators? What commitments can you make towards combating the disproportionate impacts of pollutant exposures on OUSD students, parents, and educators.
So it was interesting. My last two classes at La Escuelita, we did land acknowledgements, and we looked at the area that we lived in, and looking at vibrant communities sharing with Ohlone history and ancestors. And what my students came up with was really this idea of stewardship and taking care of the land. And some of the things they came up with had to do with, cleaning up trash and things like that. And so they were kid, suggestions. But I think it really raised their awareness of what taking care of and stewarding our land means. And when I thought about this with environmental racism, many of my schools in the district border 880, and several of them don't. They're up in the hills and they don't face that. But I think we have to unite around with the schools, both within the district and other districts as well that border 880. That I think the biggest problem with that pollutant, we have to have some more clean air legislation. And I think in order to do that, we have to unite with the districts, the schools in our district and districts as well along 880 to get better clean air legislation from state and federal lawmakers. I think that we also have to work with the city and with the state to clean up in a lot of the areas. Also in that same area, in the same bordering 880, you have a lot of industry and you have a lot of abandoned industry. And when those companies left, when those factories left, they left polluted soil and they left polluted water, and the kids are also subject to that. I think that again, I think there's the COVID certainly brought this out with air filters, and I think we need to do a much better job with air filtration in our schools. I don't think we can just do it with the HEPA filters that you plug in. I think we really have to look at spending money into air filtration within our schools. I also think this is a great way to really include our youth in fighting for this. That it's exciting to me that 16-year-olds can vote now. And I think that, again, inviting students to be a part of this cleanup, I think is also important.
Thank you. Would you like to add any closing remarks, or do you have any questions for us?
I just want to thank you guys for doing this. I know this is the second time that the PIC has done these kind of interviews, and I think this is a great way to really promote democracy. It's a great way to promote voting rights. I think we ought to show these in history classrooms so kids can really see this at work. So I really appreciate, I know it's a lot of work for you guys to do them. But what I also want to add to is, again, I think that what's really exciting to me about this election in all three districts is that there's really community involvement, that people are coming out and saying, we want to change the direction of our schools, and the school board has to be accountable to the community. And I just feel this is going to be a long range effect. I think the other thing I wanted to say I didn't get a chance to talk about either is the reparations for Black students. And to me, this is really a key part of the district's policies, but I really appreciate the union and communities working together to develop this, because I think it's really key to supporting our Black students and to repairing the harm. And thank you for taking your time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. We're going to stop recording right